a bold neighbor towards the protagonist. Everything begins when the protagonist wakes up after receiving a message. He opens the window to look at the sun, but instead, he receives a much better view, which is that of his neighbor, who doesn't seem to mind showing him everything. These two meet because they are heading to the same institute. This girl is named Nozomi, who tries to talk to Kimio, who emphasizes that she stops doing that every time she wakes up, but she reminds him that she saved him from being caught. Here appears a flashback where we are shown the protagonist discovering his classmates smelling the girl's clothes. These two, realizing the situation, run away, pushing Kimio, who falls into the girl's locker room, and unfortunately for him, they arrive just then. He hides in a locker, but, even more unfortunately, he is discovered by a girl. But this is Nozomi, who keeps the secret. After this, they start chatting a bit more about her, whom all her classmates consider air because she is not very expressive. In addition, the protagonist has made her feel very good with all the new experiences she has lived through. Thus, the protagonist enters reflective mode, thinking about the words Nozomi said, and he accidentally bumps into a classmate. Here, two boys start to make fun of the girl for having two big reasons. Kimio defends her, and these two don't stop making fun of her size, making the girl feel very bad. She is in the locker room with some zombies, feeling bad because of her size, but Nozomi tells her that it's better than being considered an empty or a girl, as is her nickname. So she recommends that if she wants help, she should go visit her on the rooftop. He is hiding on the rooftop, where he overhears the conversation between the protagonist and Nozomi, who starts talking about Makino. Nozomi asks which of the two has the best, and the protagonist quickly draws his conclusions, but he explodes because he always has to say something embarrassing. Here, Makino appears to apologize for overhearing their conversation and asks for help. At night, at Nozomi's house, Makino explains her problems to the duo, explaining that she has a complex with her size and that she feels very bad when someone makes fun of her. So the zombies come up with a plan for Makino to be more revealing to get rid of her insecurity, making her start walking down the school hallways showing everything. At first it goes well, but she can't handle the stares of everyone, so she breaks down. And the protagonist helps her cover up. Nozomi starts telling her to do it again, but Kimio shouts at her to please stop what she's doing because it makes Makino feel very bad, burning the manipulative zombies in the sheet, and tells her not to mess with her, that she's going to have a very bad time, and she retires. On Saturday morning, Nozomi is gathered with Makino, who are talking about a way to lose their fear, so she comes up with an idea and is going to leave the room for a moment and asks her to be very attentive, that she will knock 3 times on the door of the room and she should lift her shirt. We are in the protagonist's room, whose mother sends him to tell him that Nozomi is there. She enters the protagonist's room to apologize for what happened that day and tells him to go to her room, that she has a surprise, and that before entering, he must knock on the door 3 times. He heads there, arrives at the door, and knocks. When he opens the door, he finds Makino with her shirt lifted, showing everything, thus surprising Kimio and making him fall to the ground, making his nose bleed. Makino laughs at the situation, and Kimio does too, thus concluding with Makino's insecurities winning, gaining much more confidence in herself. Several weeks pass, and the protagonist already feels accustomed to his usual routine, until a girl starts to tell a story about a ghost in the school, so his classmates ask Kimio to take care of the ghost. At first, he doesn't want to do this job, but Nozomi accepts it for him, so Watanuki is the person assigned to tell him more details of the story. She tells him that it terrorizes the girls, but there is a detail that Watanuki has never seen the ghost and that she also doesn't want the ghost to be hunted because she is a big fan of horror stories, but since her classmates designated her for this task, she had to accept it. The next day at school, they start to watch, nothing happens, so they decide to go at night. When night falls, they find nothing suspicious, and Nozomi decides to go look for Watanuki, but she sees a fuse box and decides to check if there are no traces, but she finds nothing. But just at that moment, the lights go out. Seeing the ghost, the girls who were in that room run away to look for the culprit and find Kimio, who has a ghost costume in his hands. He tries to explain to them that the person behind the costume left, but they don't believe him. Thus, the rumor that he is a pervert begins to spread. The whole school knows, and the protagonist says absolutely nothing. Until on the rooftop, he starts to chat with the zombies, who express that he wasn't and that he would never do that kind of thing. Just then, Watanuki appears, who reveals that she is the ghost. Nozomi tells her that she knew it because she was the only one to say that she had never seen any ghost. So she drew her conclusion from there. Watanuki explains that she created the ghost because she likes to tell this kind of story with her friends, and that it made her very happy, which is why she played that joke. But now everyone believes that the protagonist is a pervert, so he himself decides to have that label to not harm Watanuki. She wants to tell everyone that the ghost is her, but Nozomi stops her because it was the protagonist's choice. So in class, Nozomi decides to talk to Kimio, but he tells her not to talk to him. And since the whole school knows he's a pervert, she considers the blackmail she already had with the protagonist to be over. Thus, the festival arrives, where they start to speak ill of Kimio, and Watanuki tries to tell the truth, but Nozomi stops her, and the girls ask for another horror story, to which Watanuki tells them about the existence of a ghost in the pool, so they decide to go there. Kim Jong-un was here because he received a call from Nozomi, who had summoned him to this place. He waits for her in this place until Nozomi appears, scaring the protagonist. She asks him if he is not angry because he helped them and they don't believe him, expressing that she feels frustrated that they speak ill of him, which is why she decided to help him by pretending to be the ghost. Their classmates arrive to tell them that the ghost was Kimio, so there will be no other ghost. And they are greatly surprised when a ghost of a girl appears, and they run away in terror. We realize that the plan was a success. Watanuki also appears to tell him that he looked incredible because he represented the aura of a true ghost. The next morning, all the girls apologize to the protagonist, telling him that they always doubted he was the ghost, thus removing that label of pervert from him. The zombies and Kimios start to chat on the rooftop, telling him that the game continues on their part. Several days pass, and one morning he finds himself with a spectacle from the school's cheerleading club. He is enchanted with a girl. This, in the lockers, meets us and asks why he is so smiling, to which Kimio tells him that it is nothing he should know. Here appears the cheerleader, who calls them, this is known as Sonoda, who asks if they are dating, to which the protagonist denies this, and she asks if he was looking at her. The protagonist tries to deny it, but she responds that she doesn't care if they look at her, and she runs away. We ask Kimios if he likes her. He denies it nervously and explains that she will never notice him because she is very popular. In the course, a vote is taken to find out which is the most beautiful girl, so they ask Kimio to vote, and he does. In the middle of the vote count, Sonoda is winning, but in the end, Nozomi overtakes her and ends up winning, giving her the title of the most beautiful. So he congratulates her, expressing that she must be very happy, and Nozomi responds that she doesn't care about the result, thus making Sonoda retire from the course. After a physical education class, Zombie was changing and saw that the protagonist voted for her, happily keeping the sheet. Just as he is about to get dressed, he sees that his shirt is wet. Sonoda appears to tell him that people are very bad and proceeds to give him the water she had for Nozomi, telling him that a quiet girl like her is very popular and expressing that in the end, what she said about not caring was a lie, thus proposing to destroy the relationship Nozomi and Kimio have. Nozomi waits for the protagonist, but he shouts at her because, in the end, everything she said was a lie and Sonora told him everything. So he retires to his house. At night, Sonoda and Kimio start to chat, and he tells her that he has already told her all the truths and that he defended her from her. So Sonoda thanked him for this act and ended the call. The next day, these two are very close, until inexplicably, in class, he falls to the ground, blaming Nozomi for tripping him. Sonoda's friends asked her to apologize, but she refuses, saying she did nothing to her, and thus leaves the class. Kim was going to look for her to tell her to please try to change, but she tells him not to do it, and that the only person she will show her true self to is him, and that she is leaving him aside because of everything that happened, so she asks the protagonist to stay away from Sonoda because she is a bad girl. Quinio doesn't believe her, and tells her that he will end his friendship with her once and for all, saddening Nozomi. Kim sees Nozomi heading to the locker room and thinks she's going to do something to Sonoda. So he goes to stop her, and she tells him that Sonoda called her to talk about something important. Zombie hides with the protagonist in the locker because her note is coming. She is changing until she sees someone in the locker and asks them to come out, and Nozomi comes out to tell her that she is recording her and to act as she is. She puts on a show, but reveals her true personality, in which she expresses that she is not afraid because, in the end, they will not believe her for all the things she has done, and that she also expresses that no one will help her because she broke her friendship with Quimio and that he will only believe what she says. But the protagonist comes out of the locker to tell her that she lied to him. That he should always have listened to the only person who always looked at him, who was his friend, Nozomi. Thus the situation ended. The two continued to be friends, and Sonoda finally stopped bothering them.